Hey guys, Chef Pep, the Brit back. Today what we're gonna do, a lot of people have been asking me about how to make a nice stock to make any kind of chowder, clam chowder, haddock chowder, any kind of really good chowder. The big secret that a lot of people won't tell you, a lot of people don't really know, is the key to making a chowder that you can eat bowl after bowl after bowl without being sick or because it's too rich with heavy creams and butters. You use a fish stock. So today I have two haddock here, and I'm going to go ahead and fillet them, and I'm going to show you guys how to use the stalks and the bones. And I'm actually going to fry some haddock too, so I'll show you guys nice easy ways to make a nice fish sandwich and to make a stock and the things that you use into a stock. So we're going to start out with haddock. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this beautiful fresh haddock and we're going to fillet it. And I have another video showing you how to fillet the haddock, so I'm just going to do this in real time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fillet these, skin these, and then we're going to use the frames, the bones, the collars, all of those parts with the bones, even the skin, to create our stock. Meanwhile, we're going to have our really nice fillets, and we'll lay our fillets down over here when I take them off of the bone. So here we go. There we go. Gotta get a nice cut under the bone. Maybe it's a better angle on this side. All right. So we take our knife, and you always want a really nice sharp knife so that you can get it and you want to feel the bones. And that's what we're doing right now. We're feeling these bones. And then we're going to go right on the other side. Once we clear those bones, remember what we said last time, you go right through and take your fillet off. There's your nice clean fillet. You always want to make sure that you have a sharp knife. It makes a huge difference. And sometimes even if your knife is sharp, you want to make sure that you got an even blade on both sides, and be very careful. Keep a steel handy so that you can hold it and keep that blade nice and ready. Cut right through that. Guys, be very careful when you're using sharp knives not to cut yourselves. That's the most important thing. You don't want to cut yourselves. But we're making these boneless fillets, so you go up one side and down the other. And once you get on the other side of that belly bone, get on top of that nape fin, and then you cut it through. So these are the frames that we're going to use for our stock. So be really careful, guys. Like I said, the collars are on there. So those are going to be really nice to use. And then you just trim your fillet up really nicely. All of these bones, it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of meat left on these bones because they're going in the stock. We're going to lay these fillets right there. Here's our second haddock. Same thing, guys. Cut it right down. Oh, this one's a nice fat one. Run your knife all the way down. Follow that bone. Try not to pull on that meat too much. Fold it up. Get over that belly bone. It's close to a J cut, but not quite. Because remember what I told you guys, my favorite part is that belly flap, that meat. That's the fatty part, that's the toro. So now we got a nice fillet right here. Take all of this, the trimmings. You guys, we take all the trimmings, and we're gonna use those for our stock. You take this, that goes in the stock. That's the collar, that's the naple collar, the naple fin. That has a lot of meat on it. I even like frying those. I'll show you guys that on another video, but it's right underneath that naple fin. When you cut it, you want to make sure that you cut it clean, and like I said, you can pull that right off. Put that right in it so it doesn't get in your way. You want to hold your fish down. But be really careful when you've got a sharp knife, because you need a sharp knife to get into your fish. So make sure that you're focused and you're not distracted at all. so that when you're cutting your fish, you don't slip and cut your hand. Sharp knives deserve all of our attention, guys, all of our attention. That haddock bone right up and down there gets a little tricky sometimes, but once you got your knife through, you run it all the way down. There's your fillet, there's your haddock bone. And what we're gonna do with this, I'm gonna fold it, we're gonna get ready to put it in our stock. So now we're gonna skin our fillets. And a lot of people don't know, guys, that you can use your haddock skin. Also, the skin is something that has a lot of gelatin, and it helps congeal your stock when you finish cooking it. And it doesn't matter if they're scaled or not, because at the end you're going to actually strain your stock, so all the scales will stay in that strainer. This black membrane peels right off. Trim that. If you don't trim the bellies pretty good, that when you go to skin it, it's gonna hinder your fish to be. I remember I told you guys you don't really want a super sharp knife when you're skinning your haddock. The old school guys, what they do is they flip their knives around so it's not the actual edge that you're skinning with, and then they pull it so that you get that nice shone. I'll show you how it looks by not using the blade, but be careful with your hands. See, that's the opposite. I'm not using the blade, I'm using the back of the knife to skin this fillet. And this is the kind of beautiful shone for when you want a fish market fillet. That's how beautiful that is. And now you didn't leave any meat, and I used the back end, not the blade of the knife. Started with the blade, but you finish it off when you have a fish market and you want to display your fillets. This is how you display them. That's beautiful. So we'll put that over here, and we'll do the other one. And I'll show you guys that trick again with the back of your knife. A lot of the old school guys know all about that. You start it off with the blade, and you want to get it down to where that membrane is really nice and sharp. You get it started right about at the tail, and then when you flip it up, you turn your knife backwards, and you just go ahead and keep it going. You just skin it, pull it, seesaw motion, and you've got a beautiful fillet. Now, isn't that gorgeous, guys? Look at that fillet. That's fish market quality. That's ready to go. It's such a pretty look. We're gonna go ahead and see if we can do the same thing on this one. But you've got to get it right to the membrane when you start it. Flip your knife backwards. See, that one's a lot easier. I think this fish right here is a spawner. It just spawned because it's a little different than the other one. It's got a different texture in the meat. So we'll do that again. We're going to use the same technique. We're going to use the blade to start. And once we get about, right going, we flip the knife to the back. Be careful. Sometimes the skin will break, which is fine. You get it started again with the blade. And then you be careful that you don't cut yourself, because that blade is facing you now. Do that again and run it right down the back of the skin till it's finished. And that skin goes right in that stockpile. And there's your fillet. All right, guys, so there's the filleting. We're gonna use all of this. Now I'm gonna show you all of the things that I'm gonna be using for my stock. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of this cutting board, because I just cut filleted the fish on it. We're gonna take this away, and we're gonna get another cutting board because we're gonna cook now. I'm gonna show you guys exactly what we're gonna use for our stock. Okay. So we're gonna use a different cutting board, a nice clean board, so that we can don't cross-contaminate any vegetables in the raw stage. It's very important to keep everything really nice and clean. I'm gonna wash my hands, give them a nice good wash. All right, and so now for the stock, what you first want, you want a really nice stock pot. So we have a really nice stock pot right here that we're gonna put all of our stuff for our stock. Okay, so I just went through my refrigerator, and there's all these different wonderful things that I can use in my stock. I had some water spinach that is like an Asian spinach, really good for you, has a lot of properties, helps control high blood sugar. So you squeeze those up. Those are going to be the first thing I throw in my stock pot. Then I'm going to take my knife. I did cut the bone, so you wipe that down nice so that the knife is still fresh. Now I'm going to take my onions. I have 3 onions, small. I'm going to cut those in half, leaving the skins on. Those are going in the stock pot. Cut that in half. That goes in the stock pot. Cut that one in half. That goes in the stock pot. Even with the skins on. The pepper, I have a piece of a yellow pepper, beautiful pepper, extremely sweet. I love putting them in my salads, but we're gonna go ahead and use this for our stock. I take the seed and the stem out, but there's nothing wrong with using, you don't have to really chop them up fine. You can just chop them up so that they have good flavor, different amounts. Now these are some stems from my shiitake mushrooms. I'm gonna take those very root ends off. I mean, and you don't even really have to do that because it is a stock, but I just don't want any remnants of any kind of sand. I'm gonna cut these, and these are beautiful. A lot of people make these, use these to make vegetarian dishes because they have a texture of meat. So these stems, you can use them, but a lot of people, if you have dishes, you can use those too. And here's some carrots, or pieces of carrots that I found in my fridge. I'm definitely going to use those. Be very careful. Put those in there. Here's another carrot. You don't have to chop them up fine, but be very careful. When you do use a knife, you have to really keep your focus on what you're doing, because if your knife is sharp, it can easily cut you. I can't stress enough, folks, how careful you should be when you're using any edged tool, because just taking your eye off of it for 1 second is gonna can cause you to cut yourself. And you see how quick and easily it goes through these veg. It can definitely do the same with your finger or your counterparts. So I have my oil going here. I have it on low so that when I'm ready to fry my fish, I can. Here's a piece of asparagus that made its way out of my asparagus for my supper the other night, so that can go in. You don't want to put too much asparagus if you have it, because it'll take on a completely different flavor of your stock. It'll be an asparagus stock. So there's just one piece, so that's harmless. We're going to definitely use now the garlic that I have. You don't have to peel it either. In fact, in a stock, it gives it more flavor if you just smash it. And the same as the onion, put it in with the skin right on. Now this is a trick, guys. A lot of people don't know this, but this is one of my secrets, and I feel really nice sharing it with you. Now these are shallots, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna cut the shallots in half, and then I'm gonna smash them, just like I did the garlic, so that I can get all that shallot flavor. The same thing, leave the skins right on. And it does make a difference in the flavor of your stocks. So that goes in there. We got a piece of an onion. I won't even cut that. I'm just gonna smash that. That's the center bone. Here's a really good way to get rid of all of the pieces of your vegetables that you haven't used, that are just sitting around in your fridge. They make an excellent stock. And this is a good way to utilize and not waste anything. These are pieces of carrot from salad that we made last night. So all of that's gonna go in. Some more garlic pieces, and anything that you have. I have a nice rosemary bush going outside, so I love to use rosemary, but not too much. It'll take on its own flavor. It'll be the dominant flavor. So I'm gonna reach over and I'm gonna grab a piece of my rosemary from my tree over here, and it's nice. I like to keep it. It's a fragrant herb. So you just use a little bit, and it's nice and, oh, that smells so wonderful. That is such a nice flavor, aromatic. So here we have some thyme that's just about dried out too. You don't have to do anything to this. You don't have to cut it up or try to piece it. Just kind of drop that in the stock pot. And then we have some fresh thyme that's not dry that we're gonna take a nice bunch. And you don't have, like I said earlier with the skins of the fish, you don't have to worry about these things because it's all going to be strained. So we'll tune in soon, folks, to see how the stock comes out and how this fried fish comes out. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you soon.